How's that?
That
More
sounds and
stable?
looks good.
More stable, less stable? Okay.
Looks good.
All right, great, fabulous. So it's really a pleasure to be talking and discussing certain aspects of, if you will, psychological wellness. And I'm glad that I have not met Nina before, but I'm really glad that we have a mindfulness practitioner on who's going to lead us through that. So I think, yeah, go absolutely. Namaste. Yeah, I go. Boom. So I think that is going to be fabulous. So let's just kind of talk about this in regards to, there's many ways in which we can actually talk about wellness or well-being, all right? But from, and we're gonna frame this in the context of COVID-19 for a mindfulness experience community, and kind of think about it in terms of where you're at right now, all right? The pandemic, as we're in this current phase of it, has, as we're all aware, has resulted in a great deal of upheaval, has resulted in a great deal of change across the world, as well as locally, nationally, and certainly in your own home in one way or another. At this point in time in the pandemic, I mean, I can't speak for all of you all, but people are going to be feeling a mix of emotions. But a lot of folks at this point, they may actually just be feeling exhausted. They may just be feeling a little bit just spent. The numbers are, they're very actually even difficult to like really comprehend after a certain point in time. I've heard the term, yes, Elizabeth, thank you, go squad, contribute. Languishing, I love that term, Elizabeth, yes, languishing, just like trying to like dig up. I mean, you just saw it. I mean, where people are like, you know, they've been so busy. I mean, part of your life is just trying to like, just struggle just to find the Wi-Fi connection so you can speak. So yes, languishing. It can feel at times, languishing, at times, I won't say overwhelming anymore, but I think languishing because it just seems unrelenting as we try to continue to adapt to where we are at. So when we think about psychological wellness, okay, and well-being, and I'm going to use a specific definition of wellness, all right, because there's many definitions that are out there, but I'm going to use a definition that involves your own self-directed growth towards achieving your own personal potential. Notice every single one of those words has a meaning. Your own self-directed growth towards achieving your own potential and how you identify that. And resilience, because Dr. Frame is the Associate Director of the Resiliency Well-being Center that GW founded in 2020. Resilience, we're going to focus on that in regards to overcoming adversity and that resulting in growth. Notice I didn't say stronger because I think stronger is a loaded term. I like growth and discovery. That's kind of how we do things in the Resiliency and Well-being Center. But let's talk a little bit about wellness, self-directed, nuanced growth towards your own potential. From a psychological standpoint, I say this quite frequently. Many of the questions that you are going to ask in life are going to come down to basically three things. What can you control? Who are you? And what do you trust? If you can answer at different phases in your life these three questions, you are going to give yourself an opportunity to be well. And remember our definition, self-directed, nuanced, directed at your own personal growth. So let's just delve a little bit into this a little bit. All right, again, I'm doing this from a psychological standpoint. All right, let's talk about control. Let's be real, let's be honest. There is a lot out there that we are just not able to control. We just are not, all right? When it relates to COVID, it could be relating to your job right now. It could be relating to your community. It could be related to your loved ones. It could be a number of things that we are just not in a position to control, all right? So one of the key things in regards to control, that is something I can control, which is my house a little bit. So as a real-time example. So, all right, one of the things that we need to think about is that there are going to be things that are outside of your control. A very useful thing to think about in terms of psychological wellness. It's an old thing, but it gets into that like sphere of control. Like, what can you control? What can you influence, and what's out of control? I like it. It's got nice imagery. It's got circles. That's good. We spend too much of our energy focused on things that we have no direct control over. We do. And that was pre-COVID. That's just life. We spend too much time thinking about things that we cannot control. So one of the things in terms of control and psychological wellness that I'd like to introduce as a concept, which actually interrelates a little bit with mindfulness, is this concept of radical acceptance. If those of you who aren't familiar, the mindfulness experience may have already talked about radical acceptance, but I'm a huge fan of it because it's a core component of dialectical behavioral therapy. And it's something that I think about quite a bit and practice myself. When we radically accept a thing, we accept it from our core. We don't judge it. We don't argue. We don't debate it. We just, this is what it is. When we accept, it doesn't mean we agree with it. It doesn't mean we have to like it, but we accept it. When we accept a thing, that then enables us to activate other networks in our brain. Yeah, now I'm going to get a little bit neuroscientific hippie with it. That allows us to activate other areas in our brain that allow us to problem solve. All right. And when you are able to problem solve, then you can start thinking about the future. And that automatically activates hope. That automatically activates hope. So when you radically accept, that allows you to activate other parts of your brain and your neural networks, particularly the ones that are involved in problem solving. Okay. All right. So radical acceptance. So again, psychological mindfulness, 3 key components. But one thing a little tip that I gave you in terms of control, what I want you all to do is to, as you're navigating this, do one of those good mindful breaths that Dr. Frame or other people have taught you. I mean, I can't do it how she does it, but she does it so wonderfully. I'm just getting calm already. I just feel myself getting relaxed. So you do one of those breaths and you accept. One way in which you do it with willing hands. So you can't see it. Can you see my hands? Yeah, you can see my hands now. Yeah, great. So you hold the hands up and you're willing. And then you breathe in and then you breathe out. Now, when you do this, don't be careful. A lot of people now, I'm from Northeast Ohio, so everything's earned. So I grew up knowing how to do this or that. Or Janet and Leo tell you, I do all kinds of hand gestures. So I have to consciously make an effort. And Nina, I'm sure maybe we'll touch on this. I have to be mindful of what I'm doing and how I'm talking. So I do this and I'm willing. And then now I'm ready to deal because now I can problem solve. So there is what we can control, okay? Yeah, acupuncture is very yogic. Sorry, I can only see a little bit of the chat because I'm focused on this, but I'm loving the energy coming through the chat. Thank you so much. That's great. Now, next, control. Next thing, identity. Who are we? Man, doesn't a whole lot of life come down to that? Who are you? And who you are changes and evolves over time, which is how it should be. You know, when I was in high school, I was a senior, trying to get into college, go to medical school. When I got through medical school, I was just trying to survive medical school. Ooh, talk about being unwell, how things have advanced. Thank goodness for the Resiliency and Well-being Center. All right. And other institutions across the country and AIM that are working to promote that wellness of our healthcare professionals, because if you do that, they're naturally, if we do our job correctly, they're going to promote your wellness and we're going to move out of a disease mindset into a growth mindset. But your identity, who you are, actually changes. That is the point. So from a psychologically mindful standpoint, you want to routinely ask yourself, what is it that I derive meaning in my life? What is it do I define purpose? If I was to look at myself and say, what is it that I stand for? What would that be? Now, even though I told you a little bit about radical acceptance, I'll be being very disingenuous if I told you you're going to answer that question in this setting or in this podcast or this multimedia. That is not reality based. This is something that you need to be asking yourself daily. This is something that you need to really start to think about in terms of what it is that you stand for, who you are. All right. And it doesn't have to necessarily be profound, but it has to others, but you have to have a deep sense of it, you know, and you may even get it to the point of where it's like a little bit of a mantra. So one thing I kind of have to say to myself is that, you know, we're doing all this great work at GW and other people are doing great work. But for me, first and foremost, I'm a father. That's it. First and foremost, I'm a father. I mean, and as a matter of fact, you can, I had to rush from work, but you can see, that's our kids' board right there. That's the scheduling board. Thank you, wife, and everybody for putting up the board. This is my daughter's like Halloween decorations that she did, like when like solo or whatever, and I got to contribute to lights. But first and foremost, I'm a father, because at the end of the day, that is how I'm going to basically judge myself. And once I accept that it's part of my identity, that informs everything else, believe it or not. Because if I'm a father, and that's what kind of example am I setting? Am I doing things that I find meaningful when my daughters look at that? Are they going to know that? Are they going to say, no, this is what my father stood for? Now, you can choose to accept that or not in terms of your own mission or whatnot, but you don't have to be a father. You could be a uncle, an aunt, or X, Y, or Z, a friend or whatever. I'm just getting to you in terms of figuring out what are things that you find meaning in, and how do you identify yourself? Because if you pick the wrong thing that you identify yourself in, it could be some challenging. I have a lot of different roles, but if I primarily identify, I'll just like a random role that I'm doing, my identity could be based around Excel spreadsheets. Ooh, yuck. Ooh, nasty, not good. Even though I like a pivot table as much as everybody. I mean, I learned to enjoy it. I mean, I know it's very, but you got to embrace type of stuff. If someone would have told me I would enjoy pivot tables, I'd been like, out of your mind. But that's another thing in terms of starting, what can you control? I can't control it. I have to do a pivot table. So I'm gonna learn to enjoy it. But be very intentional about your identity. All right, so what can you control? What is your identity? And then the other thing is, what can you trust? All right, this is a big one, particularly with COVID. And I've seen, probably the biggest thing that I've seen COVID do, in addition to the morbidity and the mortality, COVID divides. COVID fragments people. All right, in terms of social connectedness, we start asking ourselves like, well, wait, can I trust this person to be safe? Are they, because they're not masking the way that they should, or if they didn't get a booster or whatever, that's putting me at risk. So our trust has been strained. And on top of that, we've had an environment with political unrest, systemic justice. So our trust has been tested like none before. But I'm gonna give you a little bit of thought. Again, you may notice, this goes back to our definition of wellness. If you look out too much, that's gonna mess with your trust. That's okay to look out, but I want you to start internally. What is it about myself that I can trust? What is it about myself that I believe in? And then you start to build out, all right? And you accept what things are there. And I believe that if you go through that exercise of actually asking yourself, what can you trust about yourself? There, you will naturally see, actually, you know what? There's a lot about the world that I can actually trust, because to be perfectly blunt, you've had to trust it for a long time or else you wouldn't be here. All right, let me give you a little bit of an example of that. I can trust, for me, it may not be pretty or whatever, but I always show up to patients. Sometimes I may be a bit of a hot mess with it. I take a couple minutes to pull myself together. I mean, y'all saw that I had to get the Wi-Fi and all this kind of stuff. Janet and Lee are used to it. They have accepted my, I don't know, my controlled chaos. Don't you laugh at me, Janet. But that's okay. Janet can laugh at me. She can laugh at me. Lee, you can't laugh because we're still going to continue that cheese grit discussion. So anyway, they've come to accept that. They come to accept that, you know. But I show up. It may not be pretty, but I show up. Okay. Then based off of that, I started asking myself, okay, you know what? Other people show up. My buddy at Harris Teeter showed up. Folks who just paid their street showed up. Nina showed up. People in the chat showed up. You know, a lot of people are showing up. We may not always get along, but we show up. So I start to build off of that. And then I'm like, all right, I start to have a sense of trust, because once you don't trust a thing, that starts to get into symptomatology of like paranoia and things of that, when at its most extreme. And then you start to isolate yourself in the house. And let's be honest, I'll raise my hand. It was a little bit hard for me to get out the gate. I mean, I was used to being home. Yeah, y'all see my house. I mean, you can't even see. I got a backyard back there. I got all kinds of good stuff. I mean, I can walk. I can go I can go make some eggs. I'm living a well life. I got all kinds of stuff. Oh, I get to see my daughters. You know, so when my boss was like, okay, it's ready to go, start back up to work, I was kind of like, oh, well, you know, there's some pros to this hotel thing. I mean, you know, who wants to Y'all, we got people from all over the DMV. What, you want to mess with that traffic? I don't want to mess with that traffic. I'm good. I am joyful, internal, as well as happy, external. So let's stick with that. But nonetheless, I got used to just having so much control over my environment and trusting it. I had to just start to take a leap of faith and be like, you know what? I got to go back out there. I got to get out there. I got to get out there. And I'm glad I had, because we've got some nice new office space in the Resiliency and Well-being Center. We've done a lot of things. I mean, and I credit Janet and Lee, because Lee was like, all right, we got to do some team building. I was like, okay, yeah, let's do some team building. She's like, all right, where are we going to meet in person? I'm like, oh, dang, wow, man, I haven't had dinner with people in person in quite some time. But it was great. It was awesome. And so now I'm looking forward to it. So what can you psychological wellness or mindfulness, or not mindfulness, wellness. What can you again, wellness, self-directed, nuance your own growth and potential. Ask, what can I control? And be humble with it. Who am I? Then what can I trust? Specific skills, control, think about radical acceptance. Okay, identity. Ask yourself questions about what you find meaning in your role. And trust, start internally with one very specific thing about what you can trust about yourself. Next skill, in regards to which is, I think, a very nice transition point to Nina. All right, next skill. In order to do these things, you must be mindful. You must be aware. You must center yourself so that you're in a place where, you know, you're not getting distracted, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, or X, Y, or Z. And that takes an intentional focus. If you do that though, and again, I say, if you do all those things and you give me a good run, 5 or 6 months, but you got to give me a good run. You got to do it every day. If you don't experience some form of positive growth, fine, I'll come on a mindfulness experience and I will stand corrected. But you got to give me a good run. You got to give me a good run. And you also got to practice the breathing. I got to see the breathing from your Apple Watch. I'm not going to trust that you just give me the report. I mean, say, sorry, I won't trust that. You got to give me a good run. You give us a good run, I'm convinced. I'm convinced. And nobody has come back yet. Now watch somebody from this group does. But if you give us a good run, you're going to see it. So listen, very happy to speak at a mindfulness experience, and certainly in this community. And I think it's so incredible that this is formed, and we're definitely always happy to come back at Dr. Frame and Janet's request. So with that being said, Nina, even though I just met you, all right, but I like the energy. Yeah, I mean, you already recruited somebody. It's all you.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Norris. I took a lot of notes. I really appreciated that discussion, and the resonance for me was amazing. So thank you. Thank you. I love your humor too. Oh, thank you. So some of the themes that Dr. Norris touched on, choice, this idea that we have a choice, that we can be more radically accepting of ourselves, of our bodies as we are. This idea of identity and self-knowledge is key, and self-awareness to well-being. And he was absolutely right. You can use the tool of mindfulness to strengthen all of these aspects of well-being, getting in touch with the fact that you do have a choice where to place your attention, how to relax your body, how to get in touch with what you do and don't have control over, how to give yourself compassion and acceptance and kindness so that you can think more clearly and solve your problems and get out of the stress response and become more and more in tune with who you are, what you can trust, and where you want to be. So thank you so much. That was just such a brilliant introduction to mindfulness that he kicked off there. So today's theme with the two practices are, the theme is to be with this body with kindness, not the body that we had in the past or the one that we will have in the future or we hope to have in the future, and not dwelling on the judgments we have about the body. And no matter what this body's limitations or ailments, we can be with this body as it is right now, moment to moment, with kindness, acceptance, and gratitude. This body that does so much for us, this beautiful, breathing body. So today's meditation is about being with this body that we have right here, right now, with acceptance and kindness and gratitude. So go ahead and move into a posture, what I like to call a mindful posture, where essentially you're sitting in an upright and relaxed fashion. What's most important is that you feel comfortable and awake as best you can. You can feel your feet flat on the floor, perhaps to stabilize yourself. You can have your hands on your lap facing downwards for more stability, or facing upwards for openness and just allowing what arises to arise, whatever feels most comfortable and supportive for you. And you can close your eyes or have a soft gaze downward. And at any time that you need to, feel free to adjust your posture and get into a position that is comfortable for you. It's not about being perfectly still. There's no right or exact right or wrong way to do meditation. You're just simply showing up, being present to yourself with kindness and openness and acceptance, just as you are, as you're breathing. And so we're going to, in just a moment, move into a body scan. In this meditation, I'll be inviting you to pay attention with kindness to different regions of the body, just noticing the sensations, noticing the breath, and bringing that kindness and perhaps even gratitude to these areas of the body that we most likely don't pay attention to. And we'll close with awareness of the breath. So I wanted to start out with a short poem by Martha Elliott. Your history is here inside your body. Your body is your storehouse of learnings and feelings, thoughts and experiences, only waiting to be invited to reveal your treasures to yourself. Help yourself as you let the learning emerge and take shape. You can appreciate the wisdom of this body. Each cell alive with spirit, emotion, and intelligence, ready to help you at each moment, always with you and for you. And so bringing attention to this body right here, right now, feeling into the body, and noticing the fact that you're breathing without trying to change the breath in any way. Just simply observing it with kindness as the breath is coming in and as it's going out. Each breath a new beginning. And noticing anything that's here for you right now, any feelings, any emotions. Accepting them with kindness, allowing and letting be as you're breathing. You might notice the feeling of your breath at the belly or the chest. Feeling the rising and the falling the belly or the chest as the breath comes in and as it goes out, moment to moment, breath by breath. You could put your hands on your belly or your chest. It's a wonderful way to calm down the nervous system. Feeling the warmth of the hands on the belly or the chest as you're breathing. And relaxing the belly, softening the shoulders, bringing them down away from the ears. Relaxing the neck and the jaw as best you can. Softening the eyes and the eyelids. And letting go in the forehead, just letting it be. Relaxing the entirety of the face. Filling your entire body as it's breathing with your kind awareness, moment to moment. Letting be and letting go. And then bringing awareness now, we'll move into different regions of the body. So bringing attention to the chest, noticing the chest perhaps moving in and out with the breath. Perhaps noticing the heart beating. Just opening up and relaxing the chest. Could be a tightness or an openness here. Whatever it is, it's just fine. Feeling into the chest and letting it be and letting it go. And then bringing attention from the chest to the shoulders. If you like, you can take a deep breath in and bring the shoulders up to the ears. Deep breath out, bring the shoulders down, away from the ears. Softening and relaxing the shoulders as you're breathing. And then bringing the energy from the shoulders and the attention down into the arms. So noticing the upper arms, the elbows, and the forearms. Noticing the space in the palms of the hands. Perhaps relaxing the hands. In your mind's eye, feeling into the thumbs and each of the fingers. Noticing the back side of the hands. Sensing into the entirety of the arms and the hands. Allowing and letting be here. And then moving awareness from the arms and the hands, from the chest and the belly to the lower back, an area of the body where we often hold tension, breathing with the lower back and letting it be, letting go here. Noticing the mid back and the upper back. Filling the entirety of the back with kind awareness. Perhaps feeling gratitude for this back. It does so much for this body. Just Just releasing in the back and allowing and letting it be, letting go. And then from the back, moving awareness down the body to the hip region of the body. An area of the body perhaps we don't pay any attention to. So noticing the hip bone, hip joint, bringing appreciation, kindness to this area of the body, as it does so much for us, allowing us to function. Drawing awareness down the hips now to the upper legs, noticing the thighs, the muscle and the bones in the upper legs. And then moving down, moving attention down to the knees. Perhaps softening the knees, noticing the inside of the knees, the knee joint. Front and back side of the knees. Just letting them be and letting them go, bringing appreciation and gratitude to our knees. As you're breathing, moving attention down from the knees to the lower legs. Perhaps noticing the shins in front and the calf muscle in back. Sensing into this area of the body. Breathing with it, letting it be. And from the lower legs, bringing attention down to the ankle joints. Filling the ankles with awareness and breath. As you allow and let be here, and moving attention from the ankles down into the feet, out into the toes, feeling into all of the toes in each foot, saying hello to the toes that we don't pay much attention to unless we're in pain in the toes, maybe giving them some gratitude, and the feet. Noticing the lower feet are actually the bottom of the feet and the top of the feet. Noticing the muscles, ligaments, and bones here. Paying gratitude to our wonderful feet. Thanking them for all that they do for us. Letting them be as they are, as you're breathing. And then we'll move our attention now to getting a sense of the entire body sitting here breathing. So you can start by sweeping attention from the bottom of the feet, slowly scanning up the body, scanning up through the legs, the hips, and the torso, the arms and the shoulders and the neck and the face, the top of the head. And then scanning from the top of the head, slowly scanning down the body, down the head and the face, the neck, shoulders and the arms and the torso, the hips and the legs and the feet. enveloping the entire body with kind and accepting awareness. Feeling into the entire body, breathing moment to moment. Feeling gratitude for this whole body, tapping into our essential wholeness. As we accept this body just as it is, right here, right now, moment to moment. Giving it gratitude. And then bringing attention from the body, zooming back in to noticing the breath at the belly or the chest. Once again, you can put your hands on your belly or your chest. And just feeling the movement of the breath as it comes in and as it goes out. Moment to moment, breath by breath. Spend a few minutes in silence as we anchor attention on the breath. Just noticing this body breathing moment to moment. You can open up the lens of your awareness now to include sounds. Noticing the sounds that you're hearing moment to moment inside and outside of the rooms. Asking yourself silently, what am I hearing right now, and see what arises. And opening up the lens of attention even wider now to include any thoughts or feelings arising. What am I feeling right now? You can ask yourself silently, what am I thinking? What is here? Just meeting whatever is arising with acceptance and kindness, allowing yourself to just be as you are moment to moment. And as this meditation comes to a close, you may call to mind a touchstone or a symbol perhaps that you'd like to turn to again and again to remind yourself you have this choice to treat this body, this mind with kindness and acceptance in any moment. Perhaps it's a color or a symbol or a person in your life that gets you in touch with that self-kindness and compassion. And letting that sink in. That's something you can return to again and again. And then when you're ready to bring the meditation to a close, just go ahead and do the transition very gently. You can take a deep breath in, a deep breath out. Arriving back into the room with eyes open.